Don't throw it this time. Alright, so yeah, I got this thing at Lowe's for $5. Just another one of these sad old boxes that you find at Lowe's. Along next to those horrible, like, terrarium growing kits that you find at Lowe's. Ugh. Lowe, stop selling those. And crazy enough, this is Dente. This is not the first time I've actually gotten different species from Lowe's. I've gotten some red dragons from Lowe's. Yeah. They're always labeled just as Venus flytrap, but there are sometimes you can find some treasures, and boy is this a treat. So as you can see, it comes in actually really nice packaging, I'm not gonna lie, except it's not recyclable. I'm killing the planet with this thing, and I actually don't mind this brand, mainly because the clones that you get are actually really nice. These might not even be clones, these might actually be seed grown, which I ain't complaining. Seed grown fly traps are the best, and typically my nicest typical fly traps came from Lowe's, and pretty much every other fly trap that's not really that good, they came from like Food City, Walmart, all that jazz. But this one here, I just got this one because it was a Dente. But like I said, this packaging is really nice. It's thick, it's very protective. It's durable. There's even like a shield that prevents them from, even though sometimes you'll see this at Lowe's, sometimes it just didn't work and there's just dirt all over these things, those poor things. But hey, you know what? Let's just get to this. Sadly, this was the only one there, so I'm pretty sure the others were claimed by a bunch of noobs. There we go. Get out. Oh, newly refinished desk. Remember what my desk looked like before? Check out the refinishing. Brand new top, freshly polished, and freshly dirty. Get out. Oh, okay. Well, here it is. So yeah, this is small, and there's definitely only one plant, which is usually the biggest turnoff about these guys. Because do you remember the ones I got Wally World? First things first, that's how they're doing right now. They're actually doing quite well. There's like 5, 6, 7 plants in there. There's only one in here, and it is tiny. But this plant's gonna get big very soon, believe me. So, let me just brush it off the side. Let's pop this guy up. Actually, no, beforehand, let's read the care on the back. Carnivorous plants attract, catch, and digest insects. Planted in peat/sphagnum moss. I mean, it's technically the truth, because you can totally grow these guys in sphagnum moss. I mean, I've done it before. I'd rather use peat and perlite because A, it's a lot cheaper, believe me. Peat and perlite just lasts a lot longer. Sphagnum moss just doesn't do too well for outdoor plants. It just doesn't last very long. It rots up very easily. Indoors, thrives well on windowsill. Don't ever grow a flytrap on a windowsill unless it's one of those windowsills that gets blasting light, and I mean blasting. And yes, those exist, but even with those, keep this in mind. Windowsills filter pretty much all the UV ratings and about 50% of the sun's energy, which means if you want these plants to at least grow well, this will need to have direct sunlight from a windowsill for about 12 hours a day for it to at least color up. So I don't recommend windowsill growing. Not to mention these plants won't really go dormant naturally. You know, just because it gets less light does not mean the plant's just gonna go dormant. It's also gonna be the weather. And they don't just go dormant instantly. Fly traps go dormant within the span of months. My fly traps, even though it's mid-September, they're already showing the early signs of dormancy by growing their traps closer to the ground. They'll drop their summer traps, and then once November hits, that's when the plants start to go dormant. And these plants are just gonna grow all leggy at that time because they're getting less light, and then they just won't go dormant. They'll just die from lack of light. It's just not a good way to grow these plants. Grow these guys outside. Grow them like a tomato plant. 6+ hours of direct sunlight a day. They have to have that. It can be hand-fed insects, but it's not necessary. It's encouraging you to grow them indoors. I mean, I don't know about you, but most people don't have a lot of bugs indoors, and if it's not necessary, how are these plants going to get their nutrients? These plants are carnivorous for a reason. They literally evolved because the soil sucks that bad. Keep soil moist. Oh boy, finally something correct. Never below 40 Fahrenheit. That is a lie. That is another lie. These plants naturally freeze in their natural habitat. My plants have been in single-digit weather, and I'm talking in Fahrenheit, by the way. They've done perfectly fine. You know, they've no issues there. Do not use treated water, insecticides, or fertilizer. Yes, I agree. Give these guys distilled water or rainwater, but test your tap water first. You can get TDS meters for pretty cheap nowadays. And if your water is below around 150, your water is safe for these plants. Well, maybe. It depends on the chemicals in the water. It's always best not to use tap water, just use rainwater, distilled water. I'm just lazy. And my plants don't seem to have any issue with my tap water, so I'm just going to keep continuing using tap water, because my plants are okay with it. No insecticides, that is also a huge lie. These plants do have pests. It can range from aphids, caterpillars, spider mites, even fungal infections. Just because these plants are carnivorous does not mean that they're just gonna eat the pests. That's not how it works. The pests are not attracted to the nectar or the colors that these plants have. They're just attracted to the leaves. They'll latch on the leaves, suck the life out of the plant, and boom, your plant's dead. Rest in peace. And the fertilizer part, I use Maxi. It's a great way to fertilize your carnivorous plants, especially the ones that you grow indoors, like Nepenthes, tropical sundews, butterworts. It is a good way to feed those plants without them catching bugs, because let's be real here, there's not a lot of bugs in my house, if any. So that's why I use Maxi. I don't really use them on my outdoor plants because they catch so many bugs. It's really just, it's not necessary. Let's just do this. First of all, this pot's too small. I'm not blaming bug biting plants for this. I mean, it's big enough to start off with, but it's still a small pot. This can easily overheat. There's just simply not enough space. And not to mention, the soil is actually not terrible. It's just pure sphagnum moss. It's not great, but it's really not bad. But they do one thing that I cannot stand. They pack the shit out of this thing. It's hard to... Ugh. And this is what I mean by packing. These plants like airy soil. They're not like orchids or nothing like that. Ooh, there is not a lot of roots. That's it? Oh, that's not a lot of roots. Luckily, this is still a very small plant. So you can just poke a hole. Boom, look at that. That easy. And by the way, my soil mixture is peat moss and perlite. I just prefer peat and perlite because it just lasts the longest. It just works. Sphagnum moss is expensive. So, yeah. We get this guy good water, set it outside where it belongs. This is me rescuing another fly trap. Except this one here is not nearly as garbage. I'm actually happy about this one. I didn't save it for the sake of saving it. I saved it because it's a Dente. So yeah, that's about it. What else do you want? Hey, it's like a week later and I'm at a different Lowe's. There's already Christmas stuff. It's not even October yet. Check this out. There's more Dentes. There's so many of them. Should I buy a third one? Well, screw it. This one's looking alright. This is why I'm broke.